My gosh, is he really doing a random second stream of the day? Yes, that is correct. Let me notify the Discord. Drop that notification. Drop a second notification just in case. Let's see here. They just recently updated OBS, which is what I stream with. So, a few changes I'm getting used to. Alright, pull that up. Alright, we should be good to go, I believe. We should be good to go. Hello, chat. Hello. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? Let's see. Let's see. Alright, we got the Discord notified. Discord notified. Alright. What's up, PJ? Alright, I believe we are good to go. I believe we are good to go. I believe we are good to go. Normally I don't do 2 streams a day, but sometimes we have that rare special occasion where I will. So today is just one of those days. One of those days. Hey, since the last time we spoke, PJ, I hope you kind of really took to heart what we were talking about as far as the whole pitfall, the whole trap of I might be doing something wrong, right? You seem to have fell into that once upon a time, so hopefully you kind of took that to heart and started treating that train of thought as irrelevant as the rest of them. This thanking their presence, but having nothing to add to them, right? No sort of fuel, no sort of fight. So hopefully you really took that to heart. We're gonna give it a few minutes. Allow some people to get in here. What's up, JT? Welcome, dude. Welcome. Welcome. A random second stream of the day. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. No problem, PJ. It's one of those very common pitfalls, one of those very common traps that even I found myself in for a little while during my recovery. So it's like when I seen it firsthand, I was like, yeah, I can relate to that. Been there, done that. I can relate to that. So hopefully that message and hopefully the last time we spoke just kind of put it all into perspective for you. It's funny because when you're going through it, you're just like completely convinced that you're the only one. You're the only one. I'm a special case syndrome. Like, is anyone else out there worrying that I'm doing something wrong? Is anyone else? But we've all been through those different stages. We've all been through those different stages of recovery. It's almost completely predictable at this point. So. How's your day been going, JT? We're gonna get into it in just a second, guys. Anxiety recovery, welcoming anxiety. When people hear that, oof. When they hear welcoming anxiety, especially if you've never heard about acceptance before, especially if you're just starting out, you hear those words, welcoming anxiety. Welcoming these anxious feelings and these thoughts without fighting them. You hear those words and that almost sounds scary at first. That almost sounds scary at first because it's like I've been doing the opposite my entire life. That's probably what you're thinking to yourself. I've been doing the opposite my entire life. What do you mean? What do you mean welcome anxiety? That sounds like a terrible idea, right? Like those are some of the thoughts that I had when I first heard about acceptance. But then as you start to learn about the brain and how it all operates, it starts to make sense why that's the way out and why resistance is fuel and why resistance keeps you stuck in the anxiety cycle. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, guys. Anxiety recovery, welcoming anxiety. Who gave this stream a thumbs down? Probably somebody who oh, oops, I accidentally started my own stream. Somebody who gave this who gave I'm getting tongue-tied already. Who gave the stream a thumbs down? Probably somebody who read the title about welcoming anxiety. Probably, probably, or just a jealous person of my past or something. So I don't know. Either way, either way, it doesn't matter. It's kind of ironic because any sort of attention that your video gets, whether it be a thumbs up or a thumbs down, helps the video. It helps the video. So it's kind of ironic in that way. They think they're doing something to hurt the stream when actually it helps the stream. It helps the stream get boosted up. Doing good, still get some anxiety symptoms. Thanks so much. I'm so much better. That's great. That's great, dude. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. Comments like that is why I do this. So worth it. So worth it. We are going to get going in just a second, guys. We're going to give it like another minute or so, let some people get in here, and then we're going to tackle the point of this stream real quick. This is more or less just a quick little to the point reminder stream. I believe I remember your name, JT, but it might have been a while since you've been in here. Has it been a while? I feel like it's been a while. All right, guys, we have just passed the 6 minute mark. We might as well go ahead and get started. Anxiety recovery, welcoming anxiety. Now, just as I was talking about just a minute ago, some people hear that and that sounds a little bit crazy at first. It sounds like they have to take what's a good way to put it? A major leap of faith, because for so long you've been doing the opposite, right? Fighting with the thoughts and feelings. I don't want to feel these thoughts. I don't want to feel these feelings, right? So when you first hear about the concept of welcoming anxiety, that seems so foreign and so strange that it might throw you off a little bit. But hear me out, guys. Hear me out. The basis and the fundamental aspect of recovery is welcoming anxiety. And we've talked about this for years. We've talked about this for years on the channel. And in today's stream, I really want to make it as simple, straightforward as possible, which is something I always try to do. But in this stream in particular, I want to put the message of welcoming anxiety into a very easy to digest way. And how I'm going to do that is by explaining it to you like this. When I say welcome anxiety, I want you to think of anxiety as one of those finger traps. Who here in the chat knows what I'm talking about? It's like one of those Chinese finger traps, right? So you stick your fingers in. I'm sure you played with them as a kid or something. And the harder you pull on it, the more it's just you're wasting your time. You can't get out of it. And the whole trick behind this Chinese finger trap. Hopefully you've actually seen one of these or played with one of these so you can better understand what I'm saying. The whole trick behind one of these Chinese finger traps is that if you relax and just adjust the ends a little bit, you can slip your fingers right out, right? That was probably a poor way of explaining how to get out of it. But if you've ever played one or if you've ever seen one, you know what I'm talking about. The more you do this, the more you do the pulling, the more you just stay stuck. So when we say welcoming anxiety, that's pretty much what we're getting at. When you have a tired nervous system, when you have a tired mind, when you have a tired body, and you continue to fight against it, and that means to mentally get up there in your head and not want to feel the feelings or have the thoughts. And of course, I know you're not going to be able to 100% welcome them because there's always going to be that voice in the back of your head. You're ready to recover, you want to recover, and I understand. But in the meantime, while you're taking this approach of welcoming it instead, understand why you're doing it. Understand why you're doing it. And that brings us back to that analogy of the finger trap. The more you pull, the more you just stay stuck. And the reason, okay, that is the way that it is because the more you fight against the thoughts and feelings, it goes back to that old saying, what you resist tends to persist. So that is why people stay, in the anxiety cycle for as long as they do, longer than need be. Okay? Because the more you fight these thoughts and feelings, the more you fuel them. You can think of it as on an energy basis. Think of it on an energy basis. If you don't like something, okay, if you don't necessarily find something comfortable to you, would you give it your energy? Because this thing that's bothering you is made of energy. And if you're going to continue to pump energy into it, it's continuing to be alive. right? You're keeping it alive. So there's a million different ways we can put it. We can use the Chinese finger trap thing. We can use, don't give energy to something that you don't want to have energy. Don't feed something that you don't want to grow. There's a million different little quotes that I love to throw out there. But the main point of the stream is what you resist tends to persist. What you feed tends to grow. Okay? The Chinese finger trap. It all comes back to the concept of what you give energy to has energy. What you give energy to has energy, right? So, the main point of today's stream, as simple and as quick as possible, is when you experience these feelings that you don't necessarily enjoy, and when you experience these thoughts that you don't necessarily want to have, you have a choice in that moment to give energy to by trying to push away, by trying to fight it, by trying to do your best to get away from it. This is all fighting, this is all feeding energy to the thing that you don't want to have energy. So, if you take a kind of paradoxical approach and adopt a mindset of thank you feelings, thank you thoughts, thank you for the suggestion, thank you, thank you, thank you, instead of go away, go away, go away, then you're depriving it of that toxic negative energy that you've been giving it for so long, right? Then you're starting to deprive it of the toxic negative energy that you've been giving it for so long, right? So the point of today's stream, as simply as possible, and it's going to be a short point because the whole reason I did this stream was just to kind of drop a very quick, straight to the point analogy with the finger trap thing. If you don't want something to grow, don't feed it. And that means to not fight against it, to not resist it, to just leave it alone. And what's the best way to leave something alone? To just thank it for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here, feelings. Thank you for being here, thoughts. Right? Thank you for being here, feelings. Thank you for being here, thoughts. I can't think of a better way to not feed something energy, to just thank it for being and getting on with your life, right? So again, just a little short, simple, to the point stream, all right? And I'm going to keep that one as short as possible. That was kind of the whole theory behind this quick stream this evening, was just to drop a quick little message for you guys. So we are going to read some comments though. Let's see. Doing good. Still got some symptoms. Thanks to you, I'm so much better. Yeah, it has. It's like when I feel better, I tend to get away from searching stuff. But I was on YouTube and your live chat happened. So glad I did. Oh, that's awesome, dude. So you was already on YouTube and you got the notification. I want to donate but cannot find the link. It's in the description. You have to click the little X on the live chat in order to access the description, or you can see on screen Nightbot has dropped the link somewhere, or the email rather. But you don't have to do that unless you want to. Hey, Wonder Bro, I'm feeling better. That's awesome, John. If you randomly were formal and sensitized and you knew, how would you live your life differently from now? Would you do more positive behavior, or would you change nothing and say whatever? I would continue to get on with my life, right? When we say positive behavior, that just means live. So I can tell you where you're falling short. You're still trying to find a way out. You're still wondering, am I doing something wrong? That's what's keeping you stressed, not positive behavior, yada yada yada, whatever, whatever, whatever. What's keeping you stressed is this continuous mental obsession with trying to make this into some sort of science, right? So when we say live your life, we simply mean live your life. When we say positive behaviors, we simply mean do what you would normally do, enjoy your life, do things that you want to do, not what the anxiety wants you to do, but what you want to do. And then on top of that, of course, you have to stop fueling any sort of negative thoughts. You just accept them for what they are. They might still be there, but you're not adding to them. It's a simple thank you for coming, right? Thank you for coming. It's a simple thank you for coming, and there's no resistance there anymore. You're practicing that non-resistant state, right? So, I can tell there's still a lot of mental obsession about trying to perfect it to a science. It's definitely not something you need to try to perfect to a science. When we say live your life, it just means live your life. When we say positive behaviors, it simply means do what you want to do, things that you enjoy, things that are important to you. You're no longer bowing to what the anxiety wants you to do, like, for example, staying in bed all day. You're doing things that you want to do, and that's what we mean by positive behaviors, living your life. And of course, on top of that, you're no longer fighting against the thoughts, because what you feed grows, what you fight against grows, what you resist tends to persist, yada, 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 the whole nine yards. So It's just a simple living of your life. It's a simple living of your life for you, not for the anxiety. And of course, while you do that, it's no longer resisting the thoughts and feelings. Simply thank them for coming. They can stay if they want to stay. You're practicing no longer fighting against them, even if you're triggered. Even if you're triggered. In fact, that's when you're going to do your most growing. So don't feed the beast yet. Don't feed the beast. JT! JT, dude, thank you for so much, man. I really appreciate it. Shout out to JT in the chat, guys. Appreciate it with the $20 tip, JT. You the man. You the man. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you. I'm glad you're doing better too. That's awesome, dude. Like I said, positive, success stories like that. That's the reason I love doing what I do. It makes it all worth it in the end. It makes it all worth it in the end. Got it. Thanks. Yeah, no problem, JTA. I appreciate you. Thank you, dude. Thank you. But yeah, PJ, it's easy to fall into that trap of am I doing something wrong, dude? And you're like trying to perfect it down to a science, but you need to kind of take it at face value. So when we say live your life, it means live your life. When we say positive behaviors, that simply is just a nod at do things that you want to do and that you enjoy despite these feelings and thoughts. It simply means you're the boss now and you make the choices of what you want to do, not the anxiety, so forth and so on. It's not something you need to investigate so deeply. Literally just take it at face value. Live your life means live your life. Make choices that you want to make, not what the anxiety wants to make. It means positive behaviors simply mean do things that you enjoy, not what the anxiety wants you to do, right? So you need to just take the advice at face value and stop trying to look for like such a deep meaning, right? Like literally just take it at face value. Live your life for you, not for the anxiety. And while you're doing this, while you're living your life and doing things that you want to do, it's important to remember don't fight the thoughts and feelings. Non resistance. Simply thank them for coming. Thank you for coming, feelings. Thank you for coming, thoughts. Right? I can think of no better attitude as far as non resistance, practicing non resistance, as a simple thank you. Right? And if you catch yourself doing the opposite, if you catch yourself fighting with it all mentally, you can take a step back, and you might have to take plenty of steps back, right? Step backs, right? And remind yourself, you know what? There I go, fighting that shit again. Just gonna leave it alone. Thank you for coming. Get back into your life, and then you might be tempted by another negative thought. Okay, I accept you. I accept you, thought. I accept you, feeling. Thank you. Right? Get on with my life. You can be there if you want to be there. You can trigger me if you want to trigger me. What if I want to live my life fighting anxiety and thoughts? Would I still heal if that's what I want to do? Uh, Yikes. Big yikes. Um, you're not going to have a good time. you're, you're probably not going to have a good. I mean, you could try it and hit me up later and see how it goes. But you're probably not going to have a good time. But hey, if that's how you want to live your life, you want to fight your anxiety and fight your thoughts, give it a go. I mean, obviously you've tried that for years now, or you wouldn't have found my fat ass. So obviously it's not working. But if you want to continue, I mean, that's on you, homeboy. I'm just fucking with you. Me and PJ have this thing. A lot of people don't know that, so they're like, "Who's this PJ guy? And why do they go back and forth like they do?" Don't don't be concerned. That's just what me and PJ do. We've done it for a long time now. PJ asks questions that blows my mind, but I'm happy for it because it spices things up a bit. But to answer your question in a more serious matter, would you eventually heal if you still fought with your feelings and thoughts? It would be a bumpy ride, to say the least. It would be a bumpy ride. I don't know how far you would get. Um, Most people are on the channel now because they chose to go the fighting the thoughts and feelings route. So for most people, it doesn't end how they want it to end. It's a bumpy ride and it's not enjoyable when you fight with your thoughts and feelings. Could you still pull out in the end? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. You might get to a point where you eventually stop fighting your thoughts and feelings as much and eventually just kind of pull out of it. And that's what some people do that don't even know about acceptance. They just finally get to the point where they stop fighting as much naturally and they kind of just pull out of it. But for most people, it tends to just lead to a bumpy road. It tends to just lead to a bumpy road and they have to look for help. They have to look for advice. So that's how it goes for most people. Grateful for you taking the time to help others. Hey, I appreciate that. And thank all of you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I'm noticing that my symptoms kick in more when I smoke weed. Why is that? Do you think it's all in my head as well? Well, it depends because when you smoke marijuana, when you smoke weed, it does have real physical symptoms. Smoking weed does come along with real physical symptoms. A lot of people compare it to feeling like they're depersonalized or derealized. Um, so smoking marijuana does come with real physical altercation. It does come with real physical symptoms that, of course, eventually wear off when you sober up, when you come down. Um, but as far as I'm noticing that my symptoms kick in more, it depends on what you mean by symptoms. If you're talking about feeling derealized or depersonalized, these are all very common symptoms that people say they feel when they smoke weed. The only difference is a lot of the stoners out there like that feeling, right? So again, an attitude of non-resistance really goes a long way. It really is going to shape your experience. Um, but yeah, it really depends on what you mean by I'm noticing my symptoms kick in more. Maybe you're experiencing like paranoia when you smoke. A lot of people get a bit paranoid when they smoke. There's several different ways you can take that question, but all right, guys, we're gonna click on over to post stream for a minute. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. I am really happy to hear that though, JT. That's awesome, dude. That is awesome. I'm happy for your progress, man. Keep at it. Keep at it, no matter what ups and downs you might have or bumps here and there. If you even have any bumps, I don't know. Keep at it regardless, because obviously you're on the right track. So just a little chill afternoon stream, a quick little reminder, just kind of punch it in there a little bit, talk to chat, hang out with the community. Totally not planned stream. If I can remember to drop the Discord link in the chat when I get back to my setup, I'll do that for you guys. Discord's been really awesome lately. I'm trying to figure out exactly what Jesse's profile. That's dogs, right? That's like, what is that? One, two, three. Is that five dogs in your profile picture, Jesse? What is that? I can't tell, dude. It's killing me. I can't tell. I can't tell. I used to be the worst at that, PJ. I used to be the worst at taking thoughts down the rabbit hole for hours. Then I'd have to make that step back, you know? I'd have to make that step back and be like, no big deal. I'm not going to beat myself up for doing it. That's pointless. So, no big deal. I'm not going to get frustrated that I did it. It's a human habit, right? But I would take that step back when I noticed that I was doing it and be like, hey, I'm proud of myself. I noticed I was doing that. I'm just going to leave that thought alone because chewing it and chewing it and chewing it is obviously not working. I'm just going to accept its presence, right? So I used to be the worst for that, the absolute worst for that. And you'll see once you heal, you don't have very many thoughts that are going to trigger you in the way that you're being triggered now, PJ. So you just kind of go back to being human, right? You just kind of go back to being human, and thoughts don't pack us so much of a punch, so you're easily able to shrug them off, especially knowing what you know now. So if I have a negative thought now that I don't particularly like, I just thank its presence because I'm not going to fight with it, I'm not going to resist it. But as a human, you know, that's not sensitized, you're still going to experience negative thoughts. The only difference is they don't come with such a punch. They don't trigger you so much. But you can still apply the advice, which is probably a good idea. Because chewing over negative thoughts that have no solution and just getting worked up over it is going to be pointless whether you're sensitized or not, right? So if I have a negative thought, I'm like, oh, there it is. Of course, you know, it doesn't trigger me. I'm not sensitized, so it's much easier for me to just be like, oh, okay, it is what it is, right? Not going to fuel it. So you'll see, you know, as you step out of being as in a tired nervous system, as you step out of being in such a tired nervous system, that it becomes even easier to live by this great advice. And that's why I call it life advice, because you're still a human, right? You're still going to be a human. You're still going to have a mind. You're not like somehow getting rid of your mind. You're not like just making your mind disappear because you've healed or something. You're still going to be human. You're still going to have negative thoughts. These thoughts won't carry so much weight, and you can easily just be like, eh, you know. But you know, while you're sensitized, that takes a little bit more dedication. That takes a little bit more, you know, a little bit more attitude while you're sensitized. So, what's up, man? What's up, Will? How you doing, dude? It's all because of that trigger, dude. It's all because you're sensitized, so the thoughts bring a trigger, and they trigger like a physical reaction, and that makes it a little bit more difficult for you to take that step back and be like, you know what? Thank you. I accept these thoughts. I accept these feelings. I'm not going to feed what I don't want to grow, you know. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, or a lot more difficult to do that while you're sensitized. But you know, we all started from the bottom at some point. So, how you been, Will? It's been a minute, dude. It's good to see you. Feels like it's going to be completely different because of how funny being sensitized makes you feel. Yeah, gradually going back to a desensitized or non-sensitized nervous system can feel a bit strange at first. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it just feels a bit foreign because you're not used to it. You're just not used to it. So that's why some people say, "Oh, I feel strange not having as much anxiety anymore. I feel strange." It's not a bad thing at all, though. It's not a bad thing at all. It's just all about that non-resistant attitude, dude. You know, your mind makes all sorts of suggestions throughout the day, and when you're sensitized, those suggestions pack a punch. So it's all about practicing that non-resistant attitude of taking that step back and saying, "Okay, feelings, okay, thoughts. Not gonna feed. I'm just gonna accept, embrace, live my life." Right? I'm noticing it. I accept it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. That's kind of the attitude you're trying to take forward with you. Easier said than done when you're sensitized because of the punch that they pack, but that's okay. You know, you got to start somewhere, and I know it's easier said than done, but with enough practice you'll get the hang of it. And sometimes people get frustrated because they think they're not doing as well as they believe they should, but it does take time. It's learning a new skill. I mean, it really is. It's learning a new skill, and that normally doesn't happen as quickly as we want it to or wish that it would, but Good evening, Carrie. How you doing? Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Welcome, welcome. Good evening. Good evening. It is extremely hot where I'm at, guys. It is extremely hot. Like I've even got the AC going and like two fans, and it's not cutting it. It's just not cutting it. I need a bigger AC apparently. Like I'm not miserable, but it's pretty damn warm in here. It's pretty damn warm. I like to keep it cool, so this is warmer than what I'm used to. But acceptance. I've already done all I can. So, acceptance at this point because getting miserable and worked up over it's not going to help me get any cooler, is it? You can you can find so many examples of acceptance just in everyday life. You can find so many examples. Oh yeah, I told you guys that I would drop the Discord link. Let's do that. Let's do that. I've done this a million times and I still get confused. Invite people. There we go. I don't know why I always miss that. I always tend to miss that somehow. Okay. There is the link to the Discord chat right there. Um, let's see. Wait. I thought I accepted that comment. Okay, there we go. What was your bodily reaction, if you don't mind sharing, when you would have those shitty thoughts? It would vary. It's not always going to be the same. Depending on your level of sensitivity, it can vary and it can go up and down. Sometimes the shitty thoughts would cause a huge reaction, and I would be filled with a lot of adrenaline, a lot of fight or flight chemicals, right? And I'd feel, just very on edge, like I needed to get up and run somewhere, but there was nowhere to run to because that made no sense. But you still get that feeling because, it says it in the title, fight or flight. So depending on the level of sensitivity, um, I would either be flooded with that adrenaline, those fight or flight chemicals, and just have that doom and kind of like lingering terror feeling, like, oh, I need to do something about this. I need to do something about this, kind of feeling in the body. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that was kind of more on the very sensitive end. But there would be some times during recovery where it was, I was starting to make progress and things were getting a little bit more lower and lower and more mild, so the feelings wouldn't, or the thoughts wouldn't trigger me quite to that severity, but there would still be that little sense of unease or unrest, or kind of like, I kind of want to bite my fingernails here. This is making me feel extremely uncomfortable. I kind of want to do something about this, but I know if I give in to that bluff, I'm just going to waste my time and stress myself out and trigger myself over being triggered. So some days through the roof, some days a little bit more mild, some days just kind of uneasy, and some days no reaction, So lots of ups and downs that can happen. Lots of ups and downs that can happen, but regardless, the advice remains the same, so it's not confusing in that way. You may feel confused because you have a lot of ups and downs, but the advice remains the same no matter the severity of the reaction from the body. We need to say thank you to those thoughts and feelings the best we can, embrace them, and don't give energy to what we don't want to thrive, right? I feel much better, but still in the process of rewiring my amygdala. Takes time, right? It takes time. Um, we wish that we could completely rewire an amygdala overnight, but you are going to have some ups and downs more than likely. That's not to say that you can't make a quick recovery. There is a good fair amount of people out there that make a rather quick recovery, and that's also not to say that you won't feel relief uh, relatively soon with using acceptance over resistance, with just thanking those thoughts and feelings instead of fighting against them. So, you could make a quick recovery and you could start to feel a tremendous amount of relief rather quickly. But if it's taking you some time, that's okay too. That's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Be proud of how far you've come. Don't look at don't look at how far you think you've got to go. Just be proud of how far you've come and continue applying it. Continue applying it. Bump, 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 bump. Switch over to this real quick. Yeah, I didn't see your comment at first, PJ. I had to accept it. It's kind of stupid. It'll automatically hold YouTube bot or whatever it is will automatically hold comments that have any dirty words in them. Most of the time it will anyway. Alright guys, Discord link is up there. Discord link is posted if you want to join us. Completely free. Like I always tell everybody on the Discord, don't use it as like a 24-hour crutch, but it's okay to get support from time to time. It's also good for other things other than that. We talk about a lot of things over in the Discord. There's all sorts of channels over there. I believe they also started well, they did start a Minecraft server. So if anybody's interested in joining that, wants to have a little bit of fun, you can join the Discord, and the IP address for the Minecraft servers over there underneath the gaming channel. It's PC only though. It's PC only. I think I should throw that out there. I might actually jump in at some point today. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. I kind of want to check it out. It's modded, so that could be cool. There we go. Why am I so tired? It's only 7 o'clock. Get it together, dude. Get it together, dude. Your videos are always so helpful to me. You are my absolute favorite on here. That's awesome, Sarah. I'm happy to hear that. Make sure you're applying the advice too, right? I always try to remind people of that. At one point in time, I became like a freaking encyclopedia for anxiety, but I wasn't actually applying a lot of what I learned about acceptance and that attitude of acceptance, right? So it's great to gather the information. It's good to learn the information. You got to have it before you can use it, but make sure you're applying it too. But I'm glad you like the videos. That is awesome. I appreciate it. It's kind of funny in that way because it's like if you do YouTube, you obviously want to get views. You want to get as many views as possible. You want to get all that good stuff. But at the same time, I'm not going to encourage anybody to binge watch my videos. I want people to learn it and use it and start living again, right? I want people to learn it, use it, and start living again and end up like JT in chat earlier, who said he loved the channel, he supports the channel. He said something like that. Uh, but he doesn't come around anymore because, he doesn't need to. So I want people to end up like that. It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet. I've been reading Claire Weeks for 10 years, but always need refreshers. Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to fall back into the bad habits sometimes, It's like you said for 10 years. So I mean, you've been dealing with anxiety, I imagine, on and off. I don't know if you've dealt with bouts of actual sensitization, but maybe you've been an anxious person on and off, or whatever the case may be. But it's easy to fall back into some bad habits here and there, unless you really start to dedicate to it and really drive it home, right? So it's okay to fall back. It's okay to slip back into some bad old habits from time to time. It's nothing you can't pull right back out of, right? And that doesn't always happen that way, but for some people it does, and that's fine. I went for a swab test that day, which came out as negative for me, and I panicked so much that my heart was beating rapidly and I couldn't breathe. How do I control it in a situation like that? So, first and foremost, drop the word control. I hate that word. Drop the word control. Just erase that word completely out of your vocabulary, because when you come into an anxious situation with the mindset of how do I control it, you've already lost. You've already set yourself up for a surefire way of adding second fear, because when you come into it with a mindset of how do I control it, then you're already coming into it with a mindset of how do I make it go away, and that's already fuel. So drop the word control, erase the word control out of your vocabulary, and next time you find yourself in a situation where you're triggered, understand that you can't necessarily help that you've become triggered. You can't necessarily help that you had thoughts that triggered you. So the only amount of control that you have is giving up that control and saying to yourself, I accept these thoughts. I accept these feelings. They're here. To fight against them would be pointless because they're already here. And as you start to enter into this attitude of, I accept these thoughts and feelings, thank you for coming, instead of, how do I control this? How do I control this? How do I control this? You'll stop adding gas to the fire, and you'll start to see how this works. You'll start to see how you should drop the word control, right? And you'll start to see how by doing that, you actually start to feel so much better. You actually start to retrain your brain. You actually start to rewire your brain, right? Getting paid while watching your stream. There you go, dude. Can't beat that. I want to know something as it's not clear. When you are fully recovered, does that mean you don't have inappropriate anxiety anymore, or you still have it but you are okay with it? When you are fully recovered, that means when you have a desensitized nervous system, you will no longer have to deal with so much inappropriate anxiety. The first part of that was correct. Being recovered does not mean you are still sensitized and you just learn how to deal with it. No, there's no logic behind that, because when you're sensitized, that means you have a fried nervous system that is going to act very inappropriately pretty much for most of your days, right? So, no, absolutely not does being recovered mean that you just learn how to deal with being sensitized. It means that you've desensitized. It means that you've desensitized and you no longer have a nervous system that is so willing to pop off inappropriate anxiety all the time. That's what being recovered means. I ask that because some people define recovery as anxiety not stopping you from living. Well, that's the process of recovery, right? But actual full blown recovery and rewiring your brain, retraining your brain, once you hit that point, you no longer have to deal with inappropriate anxiety because you've got a desensitized nervous system that no longer pops off. So being recovered actually means you don't have to deal with inappropriate anxiety all the time anymore. That sounds like you'll have inappropriate anxiety once you get sensitized once, but learn to live with it. No, trust me, dude. Trust me. Trust me. It's not just something you learn how to live with and then we call that recovery. No, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. That would mean I've been sensitized for going on, I guess the first time I felt anxiety for going on 15 years. That's no. Hell no. Being recovered means you have a desensitized nervous system. You no longer have to deal with inappropriate anxiety, right? It doesn't mean you've just somehow learned to live with being sensitized. For the time being, you need to learn how to live with being sensitized. For the time being, you need to accept those thoughts and feelings and thank those thoughts and feelings instead of fighting against them. For the time being, you need to learn how to do that. But as you do that, you'll heal your nervous system and you'll no longer have to deal with inappropriate anxiety. Be like water to all feelings and all that happens. I love it. I love it. Love that. Awesome way to put it. How you doing? Feeling is healing. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, well, I mean, I can debunk the whole, oh, you just have to learn to deal with it for the rest of your life thing. I can debunk that in so many different ways. I used to have the absolute most ridiculous thoughts coming from my tired mind that would cause the most absolute ridiculous physical sensations. And I can think back on those same thoughts and absolutely almost be in tears from laughing. Right? And that's the difference between sensitized and desensitized. So, yes, you can desensitize, and that's what the two main keys are there for. Get back into your life. Stop fighting with these thoughts and feelings. You can desensitize, and you will get to a point where you don't have to deal with inappropriate anxiety anymore. That's what being recovered is. Hi, everyone. What's up, Arnold? So, I think people just get confused when they hear, oh, you just have to learn to live with it. For the time being, you do, and stop adding second fear, but that doesn't mean you have to live, your life with it. It just means for the time being you have to learn to live with it and not add so much second fear and fight with it. That way you can calm your nervous system instead of adding gas to the fire, right? So for the time being, but that will eventually lead to being recovered. Doing good, brother. Thanks for the stream. Hope you're keeping well. That's awesome, dude. I'm happy to hear it. Feeling is healing. It's good to see you, man. Is there any way to donate other than PayPal? I live in a shitty third world country and PayPal is banned here. I do have Cash App. I do have Cash App. I don't use it very often, but I do have that as a way for people to send in any tips if they'd like. If you have Cash App, I can drop it for you in the chat. Just let me know. I need to get something to drink, chat. Got some dry throat going on. Yeah, PJ, I think people just get confused, dude. They're talking like you have to learn to live with it temporarily, not forever, if that makes sense. Okay, dude, you don't have to do that unless you want to. Oh yeah, your body's going to react the same as it did when the event happened, Arnold. Your body has a memory. So if something triggered you in the past, more than likely it's going to kind of bring back some old feelings, maybe not completely, but and in most cases, not all cases, it's going to bring back some old feelings, and that's why we call it rewiring, rewriting, right? To accept those feelings and thoughts in that way, but not react to them in that way. But that's exactly why we call it rewriting and rewiring. I'll check Cash App. Yeah, like I said, you don't have to do that, dude. I don't know if I've already addressed that comment or not, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to go through the trouble of downloading Cash App and setting it all up just to send me a tip. You don't have to worry about it, dude. I did drop the Cash App for anybody who wants it, but you don't have to worry about going through all that trouble of setting it up and all that crap just to send a tip. I got triggered by going up an elevator about a year ago now, and every time since I go up one, I get the same feeling. How do I go about it to show my dumb brain there's no danger up the elevator? Yeah, see, that's what we're talking about. That's why we say rewriting, rewiring, because your body's kind of got that memory, built in. It kind of stores that. So next time you face an elevator, next time you're forced to face an elevator or whatever, understand that you're probably going to have some nervous feelings. Be willing to enter into those the best of your ability with those thoughts and feelings that come along with that, and allow that to kind of play out, and your amygdala is going to learn that there's no real danger. So if you can face that situation without adding more danger signals, what we call second fear, then the amygdala will learn firsthand that it's not a real danger. So you are going to be triggered more than likely. That's first fear. We can't control first fear. But if you can experience the experience without adding second fear to the first fear, you'll do some serious retraining, right? You'll do some serious retraining. I tend to struggle with thoughts and symptoms more when I'm by myself. So a lot of people feel the same way you do. And hold on, let me switch back to face cam here. Let me switch back to face cam here. So a lot of people feel the same way you do. I get a lot of comments about fear of being alone, right? So, and the reason that is because you're kind of left alone with your own thoughts. But understand that as you practice the approach of no longer fueling the thoughts and feelings and just being thankful for their presence, right? Just being thankful for their presence instead of feeding it, you'll become more and more comfortable with being alone. So right now you just kind of have that fear of being alone because you're kind of left without any company to kind of pull you in another direction, right? So you're kind of left to your own vices, which is fine. Which is fine. You're going to learn how to be comfortable with that in time. Well, your mind's going to do what your mind's going to want to do, right, Arnold? Mind is going to mind, brain is going to brain, but your job is to not feed it. Your job is to not feed it. It's going to do what it wants to do, but your job is to not feed it. Mind is going to mind, brain is going to brain, body is going to body. Your job is to simply notice it, accept it, and not give energy to it by saying, "Thank you for coming." And that should be it. That should be at the end of that conversation. Do your best to just say, "Thank you for coming. I accept what is." Nah, dude, it's all the same shit. It's all the same shit, PJ. It follows such a common route with anxiety. Well, first and foremost, PJ, you shouldn't feel childish because you still have some fears that are kind of lingering around from childhood. It's just the way your brain has been written. It's just the way your brain has been programmed. So you shouldn't feel childish that you still have some fears about being alone or scared of the paranormal or whatever the case may be, scared of the dark. These are all things that affect a lot of people, not just children. So first and foremost, you shouldn't feel childish about it. It's just the way your brain's been programmed to behave, right? So as we face these fears with an attitude of acceptance, we break down the first and second fear, right? So the first fear in this situation, in this scenario, would be your fear of the dark, or your fear of, I'm not saying you said the dark, you said like a ghost or whatever. Um, There's your first fear. There's your trigger. So, more than likely, when you think of that or when you're placed in that situation, you're going to feel the fear associated with that. That's the way your brain's been programmed. So, there's your first fear. You've spotted your first fear. Now it's time to experience the feelings and stick with it. Eventually, that anxiety will fade and fade and fade, and you've retrained your brain. But during that process, your only job and your only goal is to not go adding second fear. So, you accept being triggered, you accept the trigger, you accept the situation, whatever the case may be, while you keep in mind that your brain is under the learning process. And while it's under the learning process and while it's triggered, your only job is to not add that second fear, fighting with those thoughts and feelings, saying to yourself things like, oh, please go away, please, blah, 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 blah. Just allowing that first fear, right? Just allowing that first fear. I know I keep switching back and forth here, guys, but I'm still with you. You're probably just looking into it a little bit too much, Arnold. You're probably just overcomplicating it. You simply need to remind yourself that when you have uncomfortable thoughts or feelings, you just need to thank them for coming, and that needs to be the end of that, and then get on with your life, right? And that's to face and accept the current way that you feel and the current thoughts that you have without adding second fear. That's what that means. When we just say, okay, I've got this feeling, I've got this thought, okay, okay, gonna live. I'm gonna live. Thank you for coming, right? Because we know resistance is futile. So it's easy to get caught up in the mental resistance and start fighting with the thoughts and the feelings, but instead just kind of gently switch that to thank you, thank you. And you might have to catch yourself, a good bit, but it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it kind of feels like a leap of faith, PJ, because you're no longer fighting with the thoughts and feelings. Instead, you're embracing and accepting, right? So it kind of feels like a leap of faith at first, but you just got to remind yourself how far has the fighting gotten you, you know? And as you practice it, it'll get, easier and easier. Yeah, see, these feelings I don't want to feel, so you not wanting to feel them is it's just fueling the fire, right? It's understandable that you don't have to like these feelings, but these negative thoughts, you're giving them way too much importance, way too much power. You just need to see them and say, thanks for the suggestion, thanks for coming. Same with the feelings. Same with the feelings. When you run around saying, how do I make them stop? Maybe if I watch this video and this video, maybe if I read this self help book, maybe if I blah, 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 blah. And here we are a year later, you haven't gotten, any closer to being able to magically make these feelings and thoughts disappear with all the self help books and green tea smoothies in the world, right? So at some point, we have to realize we're giving them too much importance. We're trying to find too much. We're trying to find too many escape routes that don't exist, right? right? So if you want your mind to learn that these thoughts are bullshit, then you have to treat them like bullshit, which means thanks for coming. Take a step back. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming. Treat them like just an unwanted visitor, but you're just saying thanks for coming. I appreciate you. You're not getting into big long hour fights with it, right? So it's no longer big long hour fights with it all. It's just I'm uncomfortable, I'm triggered, so be it. Thanks for coming, right? You might have to face those growing pains, but thanks for coming. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how long have we been streaming for? Arnold says, so I don't need to feel the sadness. Well, you're going to feel it whether you like it or not. You're going to feel it whether you like it or not. It's not about whether you need to feel the sadness or feel the anxiety. That's not up to me, nor is it up to you. You're gonna feel it whether you like it or not, because you already are. So there's no there's no question of I don't need to feel this. Well, you already do. So we might as well not even get into that conversation. But you feel what you feel, right? You feel what you feel, and you have the thoughts that you have, and you've got only two choices. You give them energy and power by fighting with them, or you just say thanks for coming and live your life, right? Non-resistance, let them flow. You know what I mean? Saying it can be used in my country. Let me know if there's another way. Oh, it's all good, dude. Like I said, you don't have to worry about it. I do really appreciate your want to send a tip, but you don't have to worry about it, dude. I've only got PayPal and Cash App. I don't have very many options available to people, so it's kind of my fault. But you don't have to worry about it, dude. Yeah, that's the only two things that I have. So that's crazy though. Your country's got like everything banned. That's kind of shitty. What's up, Wonder People? What's up, Caesar? How you doing, dude? Yeah, you don't have to worry about it, dude. I appreciate that you wanted to. I appreciate that's enough for me. That's enough for me. But you can kind of see the common cycle that you're in, Arnold. The common cycle of I don't want to feel this way. How do I stop feeling this way? And then you get frustrated, and then you get more of what you don't want, right? Then you get more of what you don't want. So you kind of see how this cycle goes round and round, and then you crack open a bunch of self-help books, and then you start going on the mile jog. Then you start with the smoothies, and then you go vegan, and then you're trying all these different things. Which there's nothing wrong with a healthy lifestyle, but you're trying all these different things with one goal. And that goal to be to get away from anxiety. But with that mindset, you're already getting more of what you don't want. So it needs to be switched to I feel the way I feel and I have the thoughts that I have. Thank you. Thank you. There's no resistance in that thank you statement or a reminder to yourself I don't have to get involved with these thoughts and feelings. I accept them for what they are. Well, it's not so much about stopping thinking, Will. It's about noticing when thoughts come but not giving them energy, right? It's about noticing when they come and not giving them energy. So you can't forcefully get your brain to stop thinking, and the more you try to force it to stop thinking, that's a surefire way to get it thinking more. But it's about catching it when it happens. So there's that feeling, and there's that thought. Thank you for the suggestion. That's all I've got to say. And it might stick around, but still it's just a thank you for the suggestion, mind and body, right? Thank you for the suggestion. Because the more you try to get it to, the more you try to force it to, the more you just get worked up, worked up, worked up. Yeah, you have those days where you feel like crap here and there during recovery. Second guessing your career, loss of purpose. So a lot of identity crisis, so to speak. The mind loves doing that. The mind loves playing those tricks. And it's kind of funny because we can chalk any sort of worry that really has no real solution. We can chalk any sort of second guessing or any sort of negativity that comes from the mind. We can kind of chalk that up as the mind game. Right, and the same concept applies. Now, if you want to make different lifestyle choices, or if you want to make a choice that you like, a choice that you want to make, go for it. But if the mind is just kind of picking you apart on things that you're really not taking action on, then and you don't want to take action on these things, you're actually, you are where you are in life, and this is where you are, and you have no desire to want to change something. You have two choices. You can change your life because you want to, or you can not pay as much attention to the mind that's trying to turn it into this and that, right? So it's really up to you. If you want to make new lifestyle choices, if you want to make choices or changes in your life and you actually are serious about it and you want it, then do that. But if if you know in your heart that you're happy where you are and your mind is just picking you apart because that's what a mind does, then don't feed it. Don't feed it. All right, guys, we just passed that 1 hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was a bit of a random one, but I do appreciate you being here. I love you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you for everything. And until next time, as always,